Alright, Diablo 4 players, if you are a fan of the Poison Twisting Blades, it has actually returned in Season 9. So if you're an OG Diablo player and you want to kind of revisit that fantasy of having these Poison Twisting Blades spin around you like you did back when the game first started, you can definitely play it in Season 9. There are a few new updates here, and that's going to be covered first, and then we'll go over the different variants of the build that you can play. So for starters, one of the brand new additions that this build has acquired, as well as any damage over time build, is specifically the Tyrant's Bane. This can give you infinite damage. However, of course, you are still locked to a timer in the pit, and even though this has the rank 1 clear in terms of the highest pit pushing, it is this that is allowing them to get a lot more damage. So after you deal damage over time to an enemy, they're going to take 0.33% more damage over time for you forever. So basically it will ramp up. So don't expect to just deal crazy amounts of damage instantly. If you are doing like Tormented 4 content, then you can absolutely blast. This is what you're seeing in the gameplay with the brand new Horadric strong rooms, as well as the new escalations here, but it will take time to ramp up. It's specifically on the bosses that you will need to be able to ramp up the damage, but for the most part, all of like the elites and everything in Tormented 4, you're going to be able to delete them perfectly fine. There's also another update with Alchemic Admixture, which makes it so when you deal 2 non-different types of physical damage, one being poison, and then the other one, it's kind of up to you on what you want to play, but it's going to increase your imbuement skills by 100x and then non-physical damage by 50x. So pretty much this is super easy to achieve with the brand new powers, because you can just throw on any other element and it will activate your brand new buff to Alchemic Admixture. So there is going to be 3 different variants I'm going to give you guys. One of them is going to have mythics, one of them is going to have no mythics, and the other one is going to be more oriented around doing pit pushings, which will require you to use smoke nade as well as caltrops, because these are just going to give you extra multipliers. For most people though, I would say as long as you have the mythics, the mythic variant is going to be kind of your go-to, but the one for pit pushing is only for like the top 1%, and you're going to need really good gear in order for it to feel very smooth, as I would say most people that are interested in just kind of climbing higher in the pit, Death Trap is going to feel a lot smoother, even though this one can, in theory, go higher. Again, the smoothness and the quality of life with Tyrant's Bane, it takes a little bit time to actually fulfill the big boost. So for starters, let's go over the skills. So it's a Poison Twisting Blade build, so of course we're going to be running Poison Imbuement plus Twisting Blades. And then we are going to be running Shadow Clone over here. This is to facilitate activating any ultimate. Pretty much all rogue builds have to run like the No Witness now, just because it's a free extra multiplier. But it also does do extra bonuses. And even though it says right now that we have it at like rank 4, it will get additional ranks via a lot of different things, via the Vex rune or via our Grasp of Shadows, because this is actually a cutthroat skill. And then we also have Poison Trap. We do not need to push this. Poison Trap will be automatically activated by the aspect of Bursting Venoms, and then you can play Shadow Step, you can play Caltrops, you can play Smoke Nade, and then I just like really going fast, so I like these 2, but these 2 last ones are completely optional, and again, you don't need to push these. So these 3 are the must plays here. You can play Death Trap if you do want to group up the enemies. That is another option, but just don't play Random Arrows is the only suggestion for like the ultimate in the build. And then for our specialization, we are going to be playing Preparation. So for starters, the Mythic version has Air Perdition, Shroud of False Death, and Ringless Star of Skies. If you do not have those mythics, you can play the Wild Bolt aspect, Enshrouding aspect, as well as running Conceited or any other offensive aspect is totally fine. But for the helmet, again, Air Perdition is there. So Lucky at Chance is great, and also you can get ranks to core skills. It's kind of up to you on which one you want. The thing is that I found a little bit of inconsistency when you didn't have a lot of Lucky Hit Chance, so it's up to you, but if you want the most damage, the core skill one is going to be ideal, but Lucky Hit Chance is not that bad to actually masterwork, as you do get a Lucky Hit Chance to actually gain a reset on your imbue with Poison Trap's activation with the aspect of the Bursting Venoms. It's automatically going to activate, but honestly, Lucky at Chance, core skills, both are actually great options here. And then with Shroud of False Death, that's kind of seen in every single build. And then we have the Grasp of Shadows, so we can get more damage with our Twisting Blades. There is also the Band of Icarus Rose, which is the gloves that will give you extra bonuses to your Poison Trap. If you do want to invest more into that, that is another option. You can get some extra poison damage with that, but then you lose out on the crit strike chance, as well as the ranks to the skill, which is of course Twisting Blades. It's up to you what you want to run. But if you do run the gloves, you do lose out on a lot of critical strike chance. Now, you might be thinking, dot builds, why would you build into crit strike chance? So damage over time cannot actually do a crit on the actual dot, but how it works with this build is there is a 75x multiplier if you crit. So we still build into critical strike chance, but we do not want critical strike damage. Okay, that's very important. It's a little bit different here. But Grasp of Shadow is also excellent because it gives you ultimate damage, which fulfills your requirements to reach a threshold with the No Witness legendary node on the Paragon board. And then just like every single build for the rogue, we want to run the Umbrous aspects, which is going to give us our Dark Shrouds. And then this is what we want to put on the boots. It's called Slice and Dice. This allows our Twisting Blades to actually cleave and hit multiple enemies. You don't necessarily need to get like GA armor and all res here, but I'm just like noting it. You can also get movement speed and boots, but you definitely want to make sure you are armor capped in the build, as well, having less than 1,000 armor is bad in the game. Then for our two-handed crossbow, this is the only time where I will recommend a crossbow because you don't do crit damage, which, yeah, you want to get that vulnerable damage, and basically you want to get in total 100% chance for those twisting blades to hit twice. So however you get it, whether you masterwork it here, you masterwork it on your one-handed daggers, that is up to you. And you do want to run daggers because swords give you critical strike damage, whereas daggers give you damage to close enemies. So daggers and then crossbow. Normally I always recommend you guys run bow and then dagger, or the swords can be okay depending on the build, but this one you want daggers because, again, you don't want crit damage in the build. But yeah, Blade Dancers over here. Then we run Aspect of Corruption in the Amulet to get a bonus here. Getting Alchemic Advantage could be great, getting attack speed, even getting Frigid Finesse, those are all great options. And then we run Ring of the Starless Skies, and then we also run Bursting Venoms here. Again, that's how we get our Poison Trap without even activating it. Then we get Imitated Imbuement, so our Shadow Clone will also start ramping up with the poison damage, and also start ramping up things like Canny and other forms of just activations on certain things. I really felt like this helped out quite a bit, allowing us to get the bonuses because the imbued skills give you those poison little like bursts. It's quite a nice over there. And then we can run Behemoth Brawlers or any other offensive aspect. You can run Conceited as well. That's another great one if you want to run that maybe instead of Imitated. But again, I felt like the consistency was really good with running this one over here. And then for the runes, Ahu Cax, just like in every build, and then Neo Vex. And then we run any sort of catalyst. It doesn't really matter. Choose the one that you want. And then for the infusion, okay, this is important. You need to play a element that is non-poison. So the shadow will give you shadow damage, obviously, but it also gives you damage reduction. If you run the cold one, it will slow down the targets. But you can put Nebulous here, and you can run Frigid Heart, and then you can still freeze the targets. That's how I'm freezing them. So you can get your bonuses with the Frigid Finesse, which you can also get via the boss just staggering because it counts as them being affected by all crowd controls, but it doesn't really matter. It's not super important. Choose anyone that you want. And then I want to play Luminous Gem over here, and then we can also play Bottled Wind, which I really like. This is like one of my favorite ones that I put in like every single build. But as far as the gems go, we want to play Amethyst, so we get damage over time, and then in the armor pieces, the Emeralds. And then for the gems, the Tyrant Bane over here, which is something I already mentioned. This is like the big boy over here. Again, it takes time for it to ramp up. Just keep your expectations realistic for infinite damage. It does do infinite damage, but I think that there is some sort of weird interaction. When I was testing it out, because I wanted to screenshot to see if we can get negative damage, there is some sort of internal limit on the training dummies, but yeah, like I said, it just goes up. It's like Bane of the Stricken. If you've ever played Diablo 3, think of it kind of like that. It takes time to ramp up, but obviously that number is a lot lower here. But as far as the gems go, Tyrant Bane, Idol from Below, and the Scornful Light. So just more damage, more main stat overall here. And then as far as the other builds, again, I will link them down below. But they're pretty much the exact same, just there are some differences in the tree as well as in the Paragon board. So for starters, as far as the skill tree goes, let's go over that. So we play first 2 points literally don't matter. Twisting Blades, you can get days or the cooldown reductions, up to you on what you want. We run Preparation, so it doesn't really matter that much. If you're wondering how we get, again, cooldown on our Imbuement, that is all done automatically with the Bursting Venoms. Then we get extra crit, extra damage reduction over here. We don't need to take trick attacks. If you do need the crit, it's not that bad, but if you want, you can also put points into dash, and we get points to cutthroat skill, so we don't need to put a point into shadow step to actually equip it, because it'll automatically give it to us. And then we have the dash to get our extra critical strike chance over here. We get the extra crit, Dark Shroud, Exploit, Malice. These are all kind of things here. So here's where the build can differ. So if you want to play the variant with Icarus Rose, you can run this one over here. You don't even need to put a point into it. It'll automatically give you all the points, but it's going to give you that bonus of non-physical damage that goes up to 150% of it, which is 50x damage, which is quite nice. But if you want the poison imbuement to reset without having to run the one where you get cooldown reduction, you can run the counter poison trap over here, and it has a chance to reset your imbuement cooldowns when activated. And then, of course, it's a poison twisting blade, so you got to max out poison imbuement here, and this is why you want critical strike chance, not damage. But yeah, we get that over there. This can also technically reset if you really want to. You can mess around with it, but Alchemic Advantage is really good. You get attack speed, lucky hit chance. That's all good stuff indeed. And then we get Frigid Finesse. We get the non-physical damage has extra lucky hit chance. You can gain some extra energy. Also can proc other things, but I really like putting points in Aftermath. You can also go to Unto Dawn because your Shadow Clone can also get the imbuements as well. And then Second Wind is an absolute must for every single rogue build. And then we also play Alchemic Admixture, which we already talked about. And then lastly, the Paragon Board. So we're going to start off with a Headhunter. We're going to move up into the Dance Macabre, and we are going to be putting in Exploit. Now, in the other variant of the build, you'll see in the pit pushing, we run the one where imbuements get a like 20x multiplier. I really like running Exploit. If you don't want to play Exploit, you have to run Lucky Hit Chance for it to apply Exploit. So it's up to you what you want to do. For your generic majority of players, I recommend Exploit because it's 100%. It instantly does that vulnerability. It'll make the build feel way smoother. But if you really want to push, obviously, yeah, you can drop it. And then we go into Exploit Weakness over here with Canny, the non-physical damage over here, because we do poison damage. And then we go into No Witness. And then all of the things where it says Ultimate works for our build because we have the Shadow Clone, which can deal some damage too. And then, again, this is why you want the Grasp of Shadows, because it just makes this number so easy to hit, because you don't even have to put, like, ultimate skill damage on your items here. And then we go into Bane over here, so this is going to give you all the imbued damage. Also, because Shroud of False Death gives you all stats. The order does not matter as far as the Paragon Board, even though it shows that we don't hit this node. We hit at all of them. It makes it so easy. And then we, of course, get Eldritch Bounty, so you get extra Poison, Shadow, and Cold resistance, but we're really here for the damage here. So that's going to be it for the build. Like I said, the other version, if you want to play the pit pushing version, I will include that, and also the non-mythic version. But have some fun, guys. Yeah, it's a pretty solid build overall, but again, even though this is the rank 1 build at the moment, which is a variant of Twisting Blades. You can play the Shadow Trap as well to give you even more damage. I've even seen one where you play, it's kind of weird. I'm just going to mention it because I like talking about theory crafting. There is a way where you actually throw in your Shadow Imbuement, you activate it, and then they take another 12x non-physical damage. So that is another thing that you can throw into the build. Again, when you're going over the top build, some of these builds are very clunky. If you want to play the push variant, you do also play this for another 25x here. And then you can also get the Caltrops. But I felt like the build for most players, and the reason why I try to make my builds like relatively beginner friendly, is that you already have to push Poison Imbue every single time you cycle through a set of attacks. And a lot of the pieces of gear, you do want to get, if you can, those Poison Imbue last for more casts. So that can be in your pants, your gloves, your chest piece, your helmet, your amulet, as well as your boots. So you can get a lot. So if you want to, you can put a lot more points into those as well, and that can kind of help out in terms of making it so you don't have to activate it so frequently. But I already felt like the build has this micromanagement of activating that Poison Imbuement. But if you really want to, again, I do have the Pit Push variant that does run the Smoke Nade, that does run the Caltrops, if you want to, but I'm just going to say it is more of a piano play style. So again, you're going to have to constantly group up the enemies, and these are only for the top 1%. But hey, I at least like to give it to you guys so you guys will have it. But that's going to wrap it up for the build. If you guys enjoyed it, drop a like on it. If you're new here and you want to see an update to this build as well as the future ones, hit subscribe, turn on that bell. And also, I have just updated all of my Mercenary guides. So check that out if you guys want to run the best Mercenary for this build, as they're all different for depending on your playstyle. Anyways, take care, gamers, and I'll see you on the next video. Also, the pin will have the planner as well as the link in the bio. Anyways, GG's.